welcome to Sir-Kenneth's Talk Show! Good day and welcome back to this new edition of Sir-Kenneth's Talk Show. Today I'll be talking about my least favorite animated movies of all time. Or I'll rather call it the worst animated movies of all time. But before we begin, please you know what to do. Hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more content from Sir-Kenneth. So without further ado, let's get into it. So there are 10 movies on my list, okay? So I will rate them in any order, no specific order, okay? These movies are not necessarily bad movies, I just don't like them, okay? Or it's just not doing it for me. And some of them are actually Academy Award winning movies, but they're just not giving what it's supposed to give for me, okay? Yeah, so the first movie on my list is Zootopia. Nah, you know I'm messing with you. You know I love Zootopia. Zootopia is like one of my favorite animated movies of all time. Unfortunately, it didn't make it to my top 10 list in one of my previous videos, and I think I just forgot Zootopia. At least I think I should have mentioned it in the honorary mentions. Zootopia, I love Zootopia. It's about this bunny cop and you know her assistant Fox. Like, yeah, so it's really a beautiful investigative kind of police kind of cartoon, and I really love Zootopia. I really do love Zootopia. Zootopia and Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo is an amazing animated movie I watched when I was like 11, 12 years old, and I really loved the story. It's about this missing fish. You know, when I watch this movie, it just makes me feel guilty for eating fish at all, okay? So, but these are two amazing animated movies which deserved a top 10 spot in my ranking last time. But however, I think I will leave them at the honorary mentions for top 10 animated movies of all time, okay? So now let's get into our discussion of the day. The first movie on my list is, like I said, this isn't any specific ranking or anything, okay? They're just all there at the bottom of my list. First movie on my list is the movie Up. Now, fun fact, Up is it's an Academy Award winning movie. It came out in 2009. 2008, 2009, if I'm not mistaken. It won the Academy Award for Best Animated Movie. It's really surprising. Well, maybe not for everybody, but for me, it's really surprising that that movie won an award for Best Animated Movie, because it's just not. The main problem I have with it is it's too gloomy. Like, there's no joy in it, okay? It's so joyless. Like, there's no happiness in the movie, okay? It's about this sad old man who just lost his wife, you know, due to old age. I'm presuming they don't have any kids, nothing. And you know, there's some sort of government project going on in their neighborhood, so they're breaking out all the houses, and you know, he doesn't want to break his house. And there's this random kid who, I don't know what he's doing, but you know, the movie, it's so joyless. There's no joy in it, okay? So at a certain point in the movie, somehow he's able to make his house fly with balloons with this other random kid they met. So they fly off into the air to the mountains. You know, they meet a bird, a strange looking bird, I must say. And you know, they meet like another old man who has like so many dogs. I don't know, I don't get the point of the story, okay? But this other old man with so many dogs was kind of the villain in the story. And you know, I can't remember what it was all about, but you know, it was just so gloomy. And you know, it didn't make me happy. And when an animated movie doesn't make me happy, I don't like it, okay? I don't like it, okay? And surprisingly enough, it's a fan favorite. It's a favorite for so many, you know, animated movie lovers, okay? So I don't know, it just didn't do it for me, okay? Movie Up, okay? So the second movie on my list is The Lost Explorer, okay? And fun fact about this movie is I saw it in theaters actually, and I regret every day of my life for wasting my money to get that movie ticket, because I fell asleep in the movie theater, okay? And that's something I never do. You know, normally, even no matter how, you know, boring a movie can be, once you're getting the theater experience of that movie, the theater makes it more interesting, okay? So that theater experience was supposed to make this movie a little more interesting for me, but it didn't. It was really boring. I'm really sorry, okay? I'm sorry. Well, I don't want to call it boring, but it didn't do it for me, because you know, I'm no animated movie creator, so I know it takes a lot to create an animated movie. but this movie didn't do it for me. Okay, it's about this, explorer or archaeologist, or I don't know what his profession was, or I don't know if he's an archaeologist or a geologist or some sort of explorer kind of person, and he gets lost, and it wasn't fun. Well, they tried to make it fun, but it really wasn't fun for me. I didn't like that movie. I didn't like the movie. Okay, yeah, that's it. The next movie on my list is the Bee Movie. Okay, it's literally about this colony of bees. It's just telling us how bees live, like their lifestyles, and there's this one bee who flies up to the human world and begins to explore the human world. Like I didn't I didn't see it to the end, okay, because it just wasn't making any sense to me. I didn't like the movie. Okay, it wasn't captivating, so yeah, it didn't make sense to me. It didn't just make sense to me. I'm sorry. I'm really really sorry. The next movie on my list is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Funny enough, I really do love the soundtrack to The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I think the music is amazing. Alan Menken is a genius. He's on a whole other level. Alan Menken, he's a great music composer. And what I don't like about The Hunchback, it's actually a good movie, but it's on this list for one reason. I don't like how the story is told. The Hunchback, I don't know, he was made, the story makes us understand that the Hunchback was in love with Esmeralda, a young beautiful woman in his neighborhood, but somehow he doesn't end up with Esmeralda. And why does Esmeralda not end up with him? Because he has a hunchback and a twisted face. Okay, the message is passing on to the audience. It's like, okay, people who don't look physically attractive cannot fall in love, or no one can love them. Okay, so they literally just made the hunchback the third wheel in Esmeralda's relationship with this other guy she ends up with. So that cute, big, huge looking guy. That's the guy Esmeralda ends up with. She doesn't end up with the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Okay, so they just made him a third wheel in their relationship. So that's what I don't like about the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Okay, it would have been better if they didn't make him fall in love with Esmeralda. Okay, but the fact that the writers of the script, or the producers or whoever thought it was a brilliant idea to make the Hunchback of Notre Dame fall in love with Esmeralda when she wasn't gonna end up with him anyway. And nobody ends up with the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Okay, nobody ends up with the Hunchback of Notre Dame. At the end of the day, he's still a single man, though he no longer lives in the tower. But he doesn't have any love interest. He doesn't have any love interest, and that's what really pisses me off about this movie, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Aside from that, I think the soundtrack is amazing, and the voice acting, every other thing was amazing. Yeah. Then the next movie on my list is the Justice League. Now, I'm not sure how many animated movies this DC has done for Justice League, but there is this one Justice League movie I saw that was like back in 2016. First of all, the animation is 2D, and which is not really the problem, but it just felt like the quality of the animation it felt really archaic. I'm really sorry to say it, but it wasn't giving, yeah, it wasn't like, it didn't give me the impression I was watching an animated movie. Okay, yeah. And also the storyline, I don't know, I naturally have a channel for superhero movies, so I was watching a superhero cartoon. I thought maybe it would be different, but I don't know, that same dreadful feeling I have towards superhero movies, I had that same feeling when I was watching Justice League. And I don't know how many, I'm not sure which of the Justice League animated movies it was that I saw back in 2016, but it just wasn't like, it was a turn off for me. It wasn't giving me the feeling I wasn't feeling happy watching that movie. I wasn't feeling like entertained watching the Justice League movie. Okay, so the next animated movie on my list is Brave. I'm not sure when that movie came out. It probably came out in the 2010s, and it wasn't entertaining for me. It wasn't really entertaining for me. I didn't get, the whole plot is about this modern day feminism bullshit, talking about a woman can do everything, which I agree with, but at times, we've heard so much about feminism in recent years. Okay, so I feel like it's being redundant, and the story, it wasn't really captivating for me. Yeah, it really wasn't captivating. So I guess that's why Brave is on this list. It's on this list. Yeah. So the next movie on my list is Pinocchio. Now, Pinocchio is one of Disney's oldest animated movies. It's actually the second animated movie produced by Disney. It came out in the 1950s or 1940s. It came out in 1940, if I'm not mistaken. 1940, yeah, around that period. So I think the main reason why I don't like this movie that much is because, you know, storytelling back then and storytelling today is like day and night. Okay, so the way they told their stories back then, it was for kids of the 1940s. Okay, so we're in the 2000s, 2020s, and I feel like a lot has evolved when it comes to animated movies, when it comes to narration, when it comes to storytelling. So I feel like that's probably why Pinocchio is on this list of least favorite animated movies. But I think deep down the story has some depth in it, but I just feel like it's the narration style that makes me not really like the movie. And that's the same case with the two other movies that I'll mention after this. Snow White. Snow White is the oldest Disney movie. It came out in 1920 or 1930. I'm not pretty sure when, but it's like 100 years old. Yeah, so this story I feel like is the narration style just like Pinocchio, and and the story, it's not a story that is like really people call it a classic. It's a classic for so many people, but I don't know, it's just not a classic for me. Okay, it's not a movie I've ever really enjoyed watching, and I feel like maybe because I'm not the main audience for this particular movie. Yeah, and that's the same case with the next movie, Cinderella, still by Disney. It came out in 1950, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like the narration style too wasn't really, it wasn't the best. Well, it was for that time, and we're in 2023. So there's a big difference in narration back then and today. But funny enough, I think the two sequels to the Cinderella movie they're quite good. They're really quite good as compared to the first one. The first one, which was back in 1950. I feel like that's why it's on this list of mine. Okay, yeah. So the last movie on my list is Angry Birds. Now, Angry Birds is an animated. I don't know how many Angry Bird animated movies are out, but the one I've seen, it had nothing spectacular. Okay, but I won't say it's a bad movie per se, but it just didn't have anything spectacular. It's not the kind of movie I watch once and want to watch over and over again. Okay, it's the kind of movie you watch once and you're like, okay, I've seen this, I'm never seeing this again, because there's nothing that will bring you back to this movie. I think that's why Angry Birds is on my list. Yeah, so that's it for my list of my least favorite animated movies of all time. I don't know, do you agree with my list? Do you like any of the movies, any of these movies on my list? Do you love them, or do you agree with me when I say they're not all that? Okay, so I'd like to know your thoughts down in the comment section. Please stay tuned and see you next time for another episode of Sir-Kenneth's Talk Show. Peace.